Ladies and gentlemen, on air, Too Late with George Andrew.
Hello everyone! Welcome to another exciting episode of our talk show. Today we have a very special guest with a truly unbelievable story. Her husband went out 14 years ago to buy donuts and was last seen in a photo on a poster for a cancan dancers show in Paris. Please join me in welcoming the resilient and witty Mrs. Dorothy Sommerland from Baltimore, Maryland. Dorothy, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thanks, George. I am recovering well after 14 years of therapy, and I believe that I am managing to overcome all of this.
So, Dorothy, let's start with the obvious question. How did you first react when Wilbur didn't come back with those donuts?
Well, George, at first I thought he might have just gotten lost on the way to the bakery. Wilbur has a knack for wandering off. But when dinner time came around and there was still no sign of him, I started to worry. I called all the local donut shops thinking maybe he got stuck deciding between glazed and jelly filled. Little did I know he had embarked on an international escapade.
And what was your reaction when you saw Wilbur on that Can-Can show poster in Paris?
Oh, George, I almost spilled my breakfast. There he was, clearly visible, next to a group of can-can dancers with a goofy smile on his face. I thought, well, Wilbur, if you wanted a midlife crisis, you really outdid yourself. I didn't know whether to be furious or impressed. In the end, I just laughed nervously because, really, what else could I do?
Have you ever considered going to Paris to see if you can track him down?
Oh, absolutely. I even brushed up on my French. Où est mon mari became my catchphrase. I figured I'd show up at the Moulin Rouge and ask around, but then I thought, do I really want to chase after a man who chose can-can over donuts? Instead, I decided to enjoy a little vacation. If Wilbur can disappear for 14 years, I can take a weekend off, right?
So, what's the funniest thing that's happened to you since this whole donut situation started?
Oh, there have been quite a few, but the funniest has to be the time I joined a support group for spouses of the unexplainably missing. I told my story, and there was this long pause before everyone burst into laughter. Turns out my story was the most entertaining one they'd ever heard. We ended up having a great time, and they even suggested I write a book. Donuts to Paris. The Dorothy Sommerland story has a nice ring to it, don't you think?
Well, yeah. And if Wilbur were to walk through that door right now, what would you say to him?
First, I would probably ask if he brought donuts. It's the least he could do after 14 years, right? Then I would give him a big punch in the stomach and say, "Welcome back, you crazy man. I hope you have a good excuse, because I have the full cost of the therapy sessions for you to refund me." And then I'd probably have him take me to Paris to see that can-can show. After all, I deserve to see Wilbur on stage, dancing with his colleagues.
Dorothy, it was amazing to have you on the show. Your humor and resilience are truly inspiring.
Thank you very much, George. Sharing my story is always a healthy therapeutic exercise. This is how we manage to overcome certain surprises in life.
And that's all, folks. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your comments below. Who knows what other incredible stories we'll uncover next. See you next time.